Welcome back, everyone. I'm Hari, and you're listening to our deep dive exploration of the world's most fascinating landscapes.
And I'm Kimi. Today, we are taking you on a journey to one of the most remote, pristine, and geologically striking corners of Canada. We are talking about Eve Cone.
When people think of volcanoes, Canada isn't usually the first country that pops to mind. But northwestern British Columbia is home to some spectacular volcanic terrain. Specifically, the Northern Cordillera Volcanic Province, which extends through the Yukon and into easternmost Alaska.
Exactly. The dominant rocks are alkali basalts and hawaiites, deposited by eruptions from 20 million years ago to as recently as a few hundred years ago. This activity is driven by the rifting of the North American Cordillera, caused by changes in plate motion.
Sitting right there is the Mount Edziza volcanic complex, which formed over the last 7.5 million years. It consists of overlapping shield volcanoes, stratovolcanoes, lava domes, and cinder cones. This lies within Mount Edziza Provincial Park, established in 1972 to preserve this unique landscape.
Right in the northern end of the park, on the Big Raven Plateau, sits Eve Cone. It stands at an elevation of 1,740 meters, which is about 5,710 feet. It is famous for being one of the most symmetrical and best-preserved cinder cones in all of Canada. It rises 172 meters above the surrounding terrain and features a perfectly circular summit crater that is 45 meters deep.
It's a geological masterpiece. But before we get into the heavy science of how it formed, we have to talk about how this beautiful landmark got its name. It's a powerful and deeply moving story of survival.
It really is. The cone was named after Eve Brown Edzerza, a local indigenous woman of the Tahltan First Nation. The Tahltan traditional territory is massive, covering more than 93,500 square kilometers in northwestern BC. Eve's saga of courage is a legend among her people.
The story goes that in or before 1974, Eve, her husband Johnny Edzerza, and a man named Hank Williams were traversing the rugged slopes of Mount Edziza by dog sled. A vicious snowstorm blew in from the north, triggering a massive avalanche. Sadly, Johnny and Hank were killed in the slide.
It's an incredibly tragic event, but Eve survived. She displayed immense courage, braving the brutal conditions to direct a rescue team back to the site of the accident. Her husband Johnny was buried on Mount Edziza. Interestingly, both the family name Edzerza and the mountain's name Edziza might be etymologically linked.
Jack Souther, a geologist who studied the area from 1965 to 1992, named the cone after her. He also named Williams Cone on the northeastern side to honor Hank Williams. Eve Cone was officially named on January 2, 1980.
In his 1992 report, Souther called it DLF-9, standing for Desolation Lava Field 9, since it's the 9th youngest eruptive center in that field. But Eve Cone is definitely a much better tribute.
Absolutely. Now, let's look at the geology of DLF-9, or Eve Cone. Geologically, it's a monogenetic cinder cone. That means it was built during a single, short-lived eruptive phase. Monogenetic cones typically erupt only once, fed by a relatively small amount of magma.
It consists of hawaiite rock of the Big Raven Formation. Because of its perfect symmetry, geologists believe it was formed by a towering vertical lava fountain. Loose volcanic ejecta like bombs, cinders, and ash cover its outer surface.
But if you look closely at the cone, there's an interesting structural asymmetry. The northern half is covered in relatively fine, dark gray bombs and cinders, but the southern half has coarser, clinkery spatter, exposed because it is much more deeply eroded.
And why is the southern half more eroded? It's due to accelerated frost wedging and solifluction, which is the slow downslope movement of water-saturated soil. The southern flank experiences more frequent and extreme temperature changes, which speeds up this weathering process.
That's wild! Also, if you compare it to Williams Cone, there's another clue about its age. Williams Cone is still partially surrounded by fine ash from its eruption, but the ash from Eve Cone's eruption has completely eroded away from the landscape. This suggests Eve Cone is the older of the two Holocene cones.
Now, despite having that classic circular crater, most of the lava didn't actually spill over the top. Instead, it issued from vents around the base of the cone. On the southeastern side, there's a nearly 30-meter-high buttress made of overlapping tiers of lava lobes where the magma squeezed out.
These streams merged to form a 12-kilometer-long lava field down the plateau, branching into narrower channels, with the largest extending to Buckley Lake.
It's surrounded by several other volcanic features too, like Sidaz Cone to the northwest, Sidaz being a composite of two overlapping cones. There are also the triplex cones to the southeast, Checone Ridge and Pillow Ridge. Checone and Pillow Ridges are older, from the Pleistocene age, while Sidaz and the triplex cones are younger, part of the Desolation lava field.
Visiting this volcanic wonderland is a real adventure. It is highly remote, with no road access. The closest roads are about 40 kilometers away. Exactly. You have to use horse trails, like the Buckley Lake Trail from Telegraph Creek or the 50-kilometer Classed Line River Trail from Iskut. Both meet at Buckley Lake.
If hiking isn't your thing, you can land a float plane on Buckley Lake, but it's heavily restricted. You need a letter of authorization from the BC Parks Stikine Senior Park Ranger, and only two air charter companies, Alpine Lakes Air and BC Yukon Air, are permitted to fly visitors in.
And if you do make the journey to climb Eve Cone, BC Parks has a very specific request. Please only ascend using the main trail on its southeastern flank. This leads to a small bench on the northeastern side and access to the crater rim.
This is crucial to prevent foot scarring on its delicate cinder surface. We want to protect this incredible monument so it remains pristine.
Absolutely. Respecting the landscape is everything. Well, that wraps up our exploration of the stunning and historic Eve Cone. Thank you so much for listening, everyone.
This episode is based on the Wikipedia article Eve Cone, which is available under the Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike license. This podcast was crafted using artificial intelligence.